you'll see a little pop-up advisory warning saying that this meeting is being recorded. So please accept that notice as well. And I'd like to thank everyone to today's San Diego Region Conformity Working Group for Wednesday, April 6, 2022. As we often do with these meetings, I guess I'll first start off going through our slide or two till we get to the introductory slide. We have our commitment to equity. SANDAG continues to pursue equity for our region. More information on this can be found at our sandag.org website. Getting to welcome and introductions. I usually try and go through this part just for ease of everyone. Instead of doing a round robin of everybody introducing themselves, I make an attempt to look through the ever expanding webinar list of attendees and capture the agency and representation from there. So I'll try that now, and then I'll pause at the end to see who I missed. So my name is Sam Sanford. I'm with SANDAG in the Long Range Planning Division, and I'm joined today with America Aceves, who also works with me in the same area and is helping out in the background, and also helped with correcting the link that was sent out late last week. So thank you, America. From the programming team at SANDAG, we have Richard Radcliffe and Sue Alpert. From environmental team, we have Keith Greer and Kirsten Uchitel. Also from the intergovernmental coordination team, we have Phil Traum and Tim Garrett. And I believe that is everybody from SANDAG. From US EPA, we have John Kelly. From FTA, we have Rusty Weissman. From the San Diego County, we have Roya. And then Roya, I'm gonna try your last name, and then if you can help me and correct me. Rusul Day?
Rasulzadeh.
Okay.
That was good.
Thank you. And from San Diego Air Pollution Control District, we have Nick Cormier. Caltrans District 11, we have Maurice Eaton. From Caltrans headquarters, we have Lucas Sanchez, Charisma Becca, excuse me, and Erika Espinosa Reza, and then Diane Vermillion. And let's see, from CARB, we have Nesamani Kalandiur. And names are hopping around on me, so I'm trying to catch them on. Oh, and also from CARB, we have Kevin Henderwan. And I'm going to pause for who did I miss? All right, I'm not hearing anything, so I think I might have gotten everybody, but please feel free to speak up if I did miss you. I'll also try and keep an eye on the attendees list to see if others are able to join late, that I can announce their attendance as well. So those are our attempt at a quick welcome introductions to today's meeting. But now let's actually get into a real quick recap on item 2, which is our meeting minutes from item 2, public comments. Skipping around, communications and member comments. I want to pause here and see if there are any members of the public that would like to make a comment. I didn't see any, but I always like to pause and make sure. How about any member communications or member comments? All right, nothing on these ones.
I was going to provide a brief update, Sam.
Yeah, please do. Sorry, I can't see cameras right now. So if you're waving your hand, I don't see that. So my apologies.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to quickly share that we currently have 2 RTIP amendments out for public comment. One is Amendment 10, which is a regular formal quarterly amendment, and the other is Amendment 11, which is being processed to accommodate the FY 2023 Regional Transit Capital Improvement Program. And these amendments are available for review on the public notices page on the SANDAG website. And the public comment period for these closes on April 13th. So if you can get any questions to us or any comments to us before then, that would be great.
Thank you, Richard. And both those amendments were also sent to the CWG email list. So you also have that via your email if you have any comments, if you want to review those documents. Any other comments or member communications? All right, moving on to what I thought was next, which is our minutes. And for this meeting, for the San Diego Conformity Working Group, we do not have to take an action on minutes. It's just an opportunity to review the minutes and see if everything is captured correctly. If there's any corrections to be made, we appreciate those. We also have the recording of these of the meetings themselves that go onto our webpage, kind of as a document of our process. Should anybody want to refer back to that. But I want to pause here. They're kind of longer minutes. They're more detailed at that last meeting, and see if there are any comments or corrections. Yes, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I just noticed one quick thing in the minutes. I think in the section where I commented on the website for our incident response plan, in that paragraph, I think the link was, I think there was a typo in there. I think it should be participate SDAPCD.org. I think right now it just says participate APCD.org and the link doesn't work. So just wanted to make that quick correction.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. Any others? All right. If anything else comes to mind or you notice anything later, feel free to email myself or America Zevis, and we can make those corrections. So moving on now to our reports, items 4 through 7. Most of these are kind of continued items from kind of updates, but the first one is actually on the 2023 Regional Transportation Improvement Program, or our 23 RTIP, and the project list associated with that. So for this, I'm going to turn it over to Richard Radcliffe from our programming team.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so for this item, we're reviewing the draft project list for the 2023 RTIP. And at the March meeting, we reviewed the development schedule for the 2023 RTIP, as well as the financial and conformity assumptions. The project list was provided to the CWG as part of today's agenda for review and discussion today. We're seeking feedback on the projects in the list, including the exempt categories for the non-capacity increasing projects. There are approximately 58 capacity increasing projects and 364 non-capacity increasing projects. There are 32 new projects and 133 projects being completed, deleted, or delayed. SANDAG has reviewed the projects for consistency and will be allowing changes to funding, but not to the conformity information prior to the release of the draft 23 RTIP in July. If you have any comments following today's meeting, please submit them to me or to Sam by April 16th. At that time, SANDAG staff will begin their coding and model runs, which are anticipated to be completed by the end of April or early May. The draft conformity analysis is scheduled to be distributed for a 30-day review and comment period from May 20th to June 20th, and will be discussed at the CWG meeting on June 1st. SANDAG is scheduled to present the draft 2023 RTIP along with its draft conformity determination to the SANDAG Transportation Committee on July 15th, and then to the SANDAG Board for release on July 22nd. At that time, the draft RTIP will be distributed for a 30-day public comment period ending on August 22nd. Then the final 2023 RTIP will be presented to the SANDAG Board for adoption on September 23rd, 2022. And that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions or comments? Yes, I see Nick Cormier has his hand up. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. And thank you, Richard. So I got somewhat of a vague request from our director a couple of weeks ago, actually our deputy director, in relation to CMAQ money. that's being used for some of these projects. Clearly not all of them, but some of them. We were, I believe, given a little bit of an increase in CMAQ money in relation to our status as a newly severe non-attainment area. And there was somewhat of a request. There was an inquiry on whether APCD and what would be the process for how we would comment on how Sandag may use that additional money that's coming in. Is that something that would be part of this process that we're going through in terms of this comment period, or would it be something different? I think there might be a request. I'm not even sure if this will actually take place, but there might be some kind of maybe perhaps a formal comment that's, states maybe our preferred preferences in terms of how that money is used, that additional money that we're getting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I can provide a response from the planning perspective, and then maybe Richard or Sue on the programming side of what are the limitations on the use of CMAQ, which are significant, and how that can be used and how reporting on it proceeds. But from the planning perspective, generally projects are identified through the regional plan, kind of agnostic to the funding source. We know how much funds are coming in on the planning, long-range planning side, but as far as deciding what project is getting which type of monies, that happens more when it comes into programming, and it's often using what is best for the region to optimize outside dollars first, and essentially leveraging our local dollars in order to bring in more outside dollars. So as far as the commenting, it'd be great to hear what APCD is thinking. We always want to try and be as inclusive as possible, so we'd appreciate any thoughts on that. But generally, as far as project identification, that's going to go through a regional plan process, and then we'll find kind of the best mix of dollars to make those projects realities. But I'll turn it over to Richard or Sue, and they can correct me on all the parts I added there.
Thanks, Sam. I think that was a pretty good summary. Yeah, Nick, we definitely welcome comments from APCD, and I'd be happy to send you a list of projects that are CMAQ funded in the RTIP, if that kind of helps narrow down your review. Yeah, projects are identified for CMAQ based on their priority in the regional plan, and then chosen for eligibility. The ones, as Sam said, is a more restrictive fund source, and only certain projects can use it. So then they're selected up to the maximum. And you're right, we did get an increase of, I would say it was about 8,000 a year, 8 million, I'm sorry, about $8 million a year increase in appropriations for CMAQ.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you both for clarifying that. And I fully understand the restrictions involved in that money. I don't think we're expecting it to be put in certain places, but maybe just double checking where it is getting used in case the question pops up from board members or something along those lines. So yeah, if you could send me a list of the projects where that, mainly just where the additional CMAQ money, if that can be teased out. I may not be able to be, but
that might be a little trickier.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
I would say in general, Sandag uses CMAQ for HOV lanes and TDM, some transit projects. Those are primarily the three areas where we strive to use CMAQ.
Okay. Yeah, if you could send me a list of just whatever we're doing for the CMAQ money,
For sure.
that would be great. Thank you.
Hey, Sam, can I jump in on that subject? Since this is money here from CARB as well. This is a recent conversation as well. It's lots of folks are asking question on the CMAQ aspect of it. Maybe I know kind of, I think Sam and Sue, you guys are kind of addressed. Maybe I just want a little bit expand Nick's question a little bit further. when you guys select, I know the CMAQ is one key criteria is the cost effectiveness of it, right? That's a one key criteria, especially from a SIP context. They look at it, the cost effectiveness, they get the priority. The CMAQ funding is supposed to get the priority for the SIP related measures. So do you guys have any criteria? Like, how do you guys go through the criteria itself? Is that, I know the MPO decides what projects, I'm not disputing, or I'm not saying that's wrong or anything. All I'm trying to understand, what is the systematic process you guys go through in identifying? I know Sue kind of hinted that it's mostly TDM and transit related projects. Maybe that's how the cost effectiveness gets priority and things like that. Maybe not right now, but later I would like to see any documentation you guys may use that, the criteria, and better understand. That might be a response that I would like to use and provide to our own management as well. I think just to giving you, Sam, and I don't know, Sue, you guys might be there. I think we are also reaching out to Caltrans because they coordinate a meeting. I think there is a quarterly meeting. So I may come and ask the same question, but I'm just giving you guys a heads up there. That's all. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. Yep.
Thanks, Nasamani. Yeah, and you know, as part of the federal highway planning findings for the last FSTIP, and Abhijit's on the line so he can testify to this. You know, we are going through a process of defining better our process and writing it down, and that'll be part of the draft release of the 2023 RTIP. So when we get a little bit more nuanced document there, we'll send that to you for your information too.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. So yeah, thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick and Mani, for the questions. And yeah, so we'll follow up on that and provide additional information. Any other questions on item number 4? All right, not hearing any, and I'm not seeing any hands raised. We'll move on to our kind of continuing items from prior agendas, which are more just updates, should any updates be available for us. So starting with item number 5 here on the 2020 Ozone SIP implementation plan update for the San Diego region. I'll turn it over to Nick Cormier to see if there's any updates that he might have on this plan approval process.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thank you, everyone. I know John's on the line, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I'll probably defer to him on an update on where things stand in terms of EPA's review of our 2020 ozone plan. But from my end, I did want to just touch base on a couple somewhat related items to this. Mostly looking forward, and it relates to possible new ozone and PM standards that are being considered right now at the federal level. There was, for everybody who's aware, EPA will tend to review the standards every 5 years or so. And they're currently in that process right now for PM and ozone. And there's a possibility, if folks aren't aware yet, but there could be some proposals coming out either later this year for PM and then possibly next year for ozone, based on what we've seen and heard in the news bites and tracking the progress. So that is something I'm just kind of wanted to make sure people were aware of, that, you know, this is something that's being discussed at the federal level, and it could potentially have some implications down the road for San Diego, as it might for a number of other regions nationwide, depending on where, if those standards are lowered. It's not clear if they will be or not, but if they are, then that could potentially require some new SIP elements, some new SIP requirements associated with those possible standards. So just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody wasn't aware of that going on. And then I also just wanted to quickly share, because I did bring this up on a previous meeting a few months ago, that in regards to our state ozone plan, which is called our RACs, you know, we're still working on that behind the scenes, and we're going to be taking an item to our board in June which is going to be more of an informational update to our board members about how that process is going, as well as kind of giving them a very short, brief overview of what it may look like when it comes to their attention and consideration later this year. And we're also asking them for some policy direction in regards to state offset requirements, which we'd like their feedback on before we get too far ahead. So with that, I'll probably hand it over to John to go back to the update on our 2020 Ozone SIP action.
Sure, thanks. I mean, I'll just pause for a second if there's any questions for Nick. Thank you, Nick, for mentioning the standards that EPA is reviewing. And if you don't know, everybody, that is something that happens at headquarters. You know, they don't really have regional involvement unless it's like to come out here to do a public hearing or something. But basically all the science and everything is done back at headquarters. Reading the tea leaves, I do believe that we will come out with a new PM standard, lower standard. I think it's like 12 right now. And I would not be surprised if it was maybe like 10. I think we're looking at a range of like 8 to 10, but you know, a lot of times in the past where we've talked about a range, we wind up taking the top end of that range. So if I was going to read the tea leaves on it, I just wouldn't be very surprised at all if it was 10. It could be a little bit lower, but who knows? On ozone, I don't know if that's going to change or not. Both of these standards basically got I would characterize it as like a rubber stamp review at the end of the Trump administration. And they weren't, no one was really seriously thinking about revising those standards, in my view. Even though our former science panels were telling us that those standards should be lowered for many years. You guys may or may not have followed the news that you know, we were also under the Trump administration busy stacking the science panels with industry advocates and stuff. So I think that was changed a little bit, how our panels were constituted, and we're going back to, I don't even know if we had a specific, I think we like actually, you know, we got big KSAC panel, and then there's supposed to be like an ozone panel and a PM panel separately looking at those, but I don't even know if we did that. So whatever the case, we're kind of hitting a big reset here. And for ozone, I'll just say, you know, we've been told for many, many years that it should be a different standard, a lower standard, and that we should have a distinctly separate welfare-based standard. Because up to now, historically, for decades, well, our entire history of ozone so far has been to take the primary standard for health and apply it to secondary for welfare. But obviously things like plants, you know, don't respond like biological organisms such as themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if that will be looked at again. I'll stop there. I don't want to get too deep into. I know that's kind of off topic for this group, but I'd say just don't be surprised if at least the PM standard is reduced. Regarding the plan, the SIP plan that I'm reviewing, one thing did come to light that I wanted to point out to this group. I don't think that you'll have any involvement with it, but it's kind of related because it's inspection and maintenance related. So to the extent that this group is interested in that kind of thing, we're going to be getting new performance modeling for I&M, which I think is kind of required for every time we do a new standard and there's a new designation. You know, you got to go through and do the performance modeling again and make sure that I&M like works for the current standard, the I&M that you have. And so that uses, you know, a bunch of modeling tools. I don't know exactly which ones, moves, whether it's moves, NFAC, whatever. But we're going to be, I think, getting something like that from CARB by the end of the year. I think they're going to be doing it like for all areas of the state. So it's not really San Diego specific. Although I will probably have to pull any I&M action out of my action on the plan because it's not ready. So I'll stop there. Let me just say timeline wise, my plan has been to get a proposal out this summer and to finalize by the end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th. I'm still hoping to do that, but it's looking more like end of summer, not the beginning, because we're already in the beginning of spring. So it's a large document, it's 2 standards, and severe areas have just a list as long as your arm of requirements. So it's, I think I'm around 100 pages now in the document. And that'll all go through review from all these different subject matter experts, because everybody knows something about one of those things, but not everything. So it's kind of slow going, but I'm hoping to get it done this fiscal year. And the budgets are already there for everybody to use, so that's not an issue. And there's a plethora of budgets, going out all the way to 2032 or whatever. I'll take questions if anybody has anything about anything.
Thank you, John, for the updates and for kind of the plan and moving forward with the 2020 Ozone SIP, and also for the updates from Nick as far as what regulations might be coming down. But I want to pause here, see if there's any comments or questions, and then I have one more to add. Not seeing any hands raised or not hearing anyone. To Nick and John's point on potential revisions to budget, or not to budgets, but to standards. One item that will be coming to the CWG later on this year is kind of a monitoring report from San Diego Air Pollution Control District, kind of to give us, from the emissions monitoring side, better sense of what's happening across our region. And that can kind of help us know how we're trending in general. It's very distinct from the rules that Nick and John are talking about, but as far as how is our region doing and the direction it's trending, that'll be helpful information. So I wanted to let the group know that will be coming.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I think that's a great point to bring up, and I would encourage people to, when we do that, I can't remember what meeting we were thinking. I think it was later this summer, but yeah, I would encourage people to join in, because they'll be able to give us a good update on where things stand currently, and by then we might even have potentially some numbers to compare against if a proposal comes out, at least on the PM side from EPA, to kind of see where we are right now versus where we might need to be potentially. So definitely encourage people to join in that meeting when that comes out. Our monitoring leads will be leading that, and they can answer any hopefully any monitoring questions related to our current statuses that may come up. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Any other comments for Nick or John? All right, not hearing any. We're gonna move to item number 6. And for this one, it's MFAC 2021 update. And I just want to ask Nesimai Kalandiur if there are any updates on the approval process for this model.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Sam. Hey, good morning, everybody, again. There's nothing much update compared to what we did last time. I think, if I remember correctly, last time I mentioned about a bug that we found in the MFAC model. The MFAC team is working on it, and we pretty much fixed all the bugs, and we are doing the QA/QC. And we are also closely working with US EPA staff there, and we provided all this information. So most likely we'll be submitting the revised version to US EPA this month. And then they're also working parallelly in going through their approval process as well and drafting the Federal Register notice and everything. They're going through their process. So still, I think the timeline is expected timeline to approve the model sometime in May. So that's what the expectation. I'll provide any other update, like if any change in the timeline or anything delays, I'll be happy to come back and report it at the next meeting. Since I have the floor, maybe I also want to plug in on the state SIP measure. I think we discussed in this forum previously a few months ago, and we also released the draft, and we are taking it to the board sometime in June. So if you have any comments or any suggestions, please feel free to review and provide. This is a good time to provide that feedback as well. So those are the two quick updates for the team. I'll stop here and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mani. Any questions on item 6 or for the state SIP strategies? All right. Thank you for the updates. Moving on to item number 7. Reconsideration of the Safe Vehicle Rules Part 1. I don't really have any updates on this one other than what's already been shared as far as the actions coming out of US EPA and also from NHTSA, the National, I'm blanking on the name, Highway Traffic Safety Administration from the Department of Transportation. As far as processes and how this is affecting conformity, we're moving forward with the understanding that we no longer need the adjustment factors that were under safe rule, that were essentially kind of penalties on MFAC outputs. That is all we have at this point. I don't know if anybody else has any additional information to share with the group.
Maybe just Sam, I think what you said is right, Sam, but I just want to be like reiterated just to be clear. The adjustment factors for MFAC 2017 model. So just if you're using MFAC 2017, you're right. I think this is we released an off model adjustment factor for the safe vehicle rule. It's very small, so you don't need to use it after the effective date of the rule itself. So that's where I just want to stress that aspect of it. Otherwise, you're right. What you said is true. And then the MFAC 2021 is already removed that aspect. It's using the consumer choice model, so it should not have any effect at all. Once it's approved, and if you're planning to use the MFAC 2021 model, it should be automatically taken care of. Yep.
Thank you for the, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Not hearing anything else. All right. Want to briefly just mention that our next meeting is scheduled for May 4th, same time, same place. And if you do have any items that you'd like to see on the CWG agenda, please feel free to reach out. We try and stay focused on federal conformity, but items that are air quality related that the group would benefit from, we like to hear as well. So with that, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for your time and for your input and information, and I'll see you next month.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sam.
Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, everyone.